T.O. Blaze.
Hey there, this is Tio bringing you another Kerbal Space Program video, and this is my second video in my little anomalies series. You don't have to watch all the videos in the series. Each one's good enough to stand on its own. So if you're interested in this one, great. If you want to see any of the other ones, that would be cool too. So like I mentioned in my other video, so I'm going to be building crafts to go out and find anomalies. And today's video, obviously, going to be going to the Mun. And I'm very excited about this one. I get to build an Apollo-style rocket in I guess in keeping with the theme of the Apollo missions and Neil Armstrong and such. So not building a recreation of the Apollo mission or the Saturn V in that case. I'm really just kind of building a Kerbal version of it. Something you might actually build in a normal playthrough with obviously some added stuff that's not quite so efficient, but definitely makes it look cool, makes it look more Apollo-esque. So here you see I'm working on the lander that I'm going to put on top of the service module. One of the big differences between this, no, I guess not even a big difference. I was going to say what's a big difference between this and the actual Apollo mission was the lander seats more. No, this lander seats two, just like the Eagle did. So again, relatively similar. Obviously some big differences, but anyway, excited about this mission. Again, headed to the Mun, and on the Mun, the anomaly that I'm going to be looking for is a tribute to Neil Armstrong. I don't know what it looks like. I just know it's there. And I do have the coordinates. I mentioned in my other video, I'm going to be using some known anomalies online to go out and look for specific things just to keep the videos interesting, not leave anything to chance. That being said, I haven't found these anomalies before, so this will be a first. And this is also going to be an opportunity for me to practice live on screen for you guys, looking for these things and hopefully finding them. So in this case, just a spoiler. The search for Neil's anomaly was not so simple and had some complications, but we'll get to that when the time comes. The vehicle itself, it performed really, really well. I was pretty happy with it. I tend to over-engineer things, but besides the first stage, I think the rest of this vehicle was pretty close as far as like efficiency and the demands and the needs for the vehicle. Didn't end up with like an awful lot of extra fuel. Sometimes I've got enough fuel to go to Duna and back, but in this case I think it actually worked out pretty well. So there you see I'm putting the lander under the service module, which in KSP is normally not necessary at all, but in real life they wanted the astronauts on the top of the rocket where they could escape in the event of a catastrophic failure of the whole vehicle. So in space, obviously, just like you saw it a moment ago, the lander's going to be on top of the service module, but at takeoff, the service module goes on top, so the astronauts are safely able to abort if they need to. A few other things, obviously, that are a little different from the actual Saturn V. I'm adding some reaction wheels down there, the number of engines, the number of stages. There's a lot of creative license that I'm taking with this, but basically just having some fun. So I am going to keep with the 5-engine theme on the bottom, just because I love the look. So see me building that. I like to add the little fuel tanks radially like that in symmetry. Makes it really easy to add as many engines as you want. The engines can be larger than the bottom fuel tank that way, so makes the design of the vehicle much more flexible. So you see I'm checking my staging. While I was doing this, I caught another little rookie mistake. I'm adding parachutes to the return stage. I did mention in my last video that all of these vehicles are going to return to Kerbin. I might occasionally probably leave a lander here or there, but the purpose of this playthrough is really just to see the anomalies. Not going to leave much behind besides the flags. So here you see I'm putting my namesake on these vehicles, the Finder. That's going to be the Kerbals that are going to go out and find these anomalies. And when they get there, they can plant the mission flag, which will be the anomaly flag. So for those of you that don't know, you can create custom flags and upload them into the folder for Kerbal Space Program. I think it's in the folder called Squad or something like that. You can find online. So that Ascent profile was kind of different from normal. I did watch a video recently. I think one of my subscribers, they have their own channel, and they mentioned a very efficient way to ascend. Had something I had never heard before, is you speed up at a certain trajectory until your apoapsis gets to be about a minute ahead, and then you throttle down and you lock prograde, and that does a pretty good gravity turn. So I'd never done that before. There you just saw me do it on screen, and I ended up throttling like all the way down because that bottom stage had so much thrust. So anyway, just sped through the whole footage, the trans-mooner burn and etc. The little hot swap to get the lander and the service module connected. But now we're at the Mun. I've got my remote guidance unit selected, my probe core, and I'm passing over the Mun with a specific field of view looking for anomalies. Again, I know what I'm looking for in this case. I have the specific coordinates in mind, but in theory, you can find random anomalies this way if you're lucky. The probe core has a give or take 30% chance of finding an anomaly. I don't know how your orbital altitude affects that chance. Like obviously you'd think a closer orbit would have a better chance of finding things in a like direct narrow field of view, and the further out your orbit, the wider the field of view, the less the chance. But I don't know the math behind that. I don't know if that's the way it actually works. So I had the anomaly location marked there. I went and landed and realized that I had made a huge rookie mistake. So when dealing with latitude and longitude and these coordinates, it's very important to pay attention to the cardinal directions. So I knew that I was looking for something that's roughly 0 degrees north to south. So that doesn't matter if I'm north or south because 0 is 0. East to west, on the other hand, very important. So what I was looking for, let me see my notes. 22 degrees, 44 minutes, 45 seconds east. And what I found was a spot that was 22 minutes west. So I landed on the crater. It wasn't even a crater. I landed on the Mun and looked around, ran out of EVA fuel. My rover broke. Horrible. Had to F9. And then I realized my mistake. And here you see I'm going to find the actual correct coordinates. And question mark, I think Neil is there. We're going to go ahead and see what his, not Neil, but his tribute. So if you look online, they'll tell you, and you can see maps. It is at the bottom of that crater. So even if you don't know the coordinates, look for the crater with the 3 little smaller craters below it. The craters have a name. I think, was that it under me right there? The northwest crater. That's what you're looking for if you're going to find this specific anomaly. Again, in theory, you can just orbit the moon, orbit the celestial body for a while. Eventually, that 30% chance should kick in, and you'll find the anomaly. Unfortunately, if you don't know that the anomalies are there, you don't know how many orbits you need to do. And I think that 30% chance is per day. So I'm assuming the game keeps track of how many days you've been on that orbit. And once you get to the next day, ideally the 30% chance resets. So I think there's definitely some room for improvement with how the anomaly system works. But anyway, I know now that I'm on a path to where I believe this specific anomaly is going to be. So I left the service module in orbit. I also left 2 Kerbnets there, which again is a deviation from the Apollo mission. They sent 2 people down to the moon. I'm just sending Jeb. Just need to plant a flag. Not expecting any damage to the rover this time. Even if it did get any damage, I don't have any repair kits on board for the engineer or anybody else to use. So I'm going to go ahead and land, and I spot what looks like a large surface feature over there. That's what's nice. I mean, the moon is really small. The Mun is really small, so if you're off by a few seconds or minutes in terms of the coordinates, you can probably see them if you're within so many degrees. So, and this definitely looks like the anomaly. Pretty excited at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and try to feather in my approach and land it relatively close. And then I know I need to detach my rover and lift off again because unfortunately the engine bells are a little too low and the rover didn't have space to drive out last time. That's why the rover was damaged on my first attempt. So I'm going to go ahead and hop out and let's go explore the anomaly. While I was doing this, I felt like a tourist. This is this interesting feature, this foreign place. You see Neil Armstrong, 1930 to 2012. There's a little monument to the lander, and there's a flag. Again, I felt like a tourist and thought, I don't know, should I be touching the anomalies or just observing them peacefully from a distance? It's a video game, so obviously I went up there and stood on it. But I believe in leaving no trace behind. So this were a real anomaly in space, don't be touching it. All right. So anyway, that's it for the anomaly. This is the Ascent stage on my little lander. Again, very Apollo-esque, leaving the bottom of the lander there. I believe they each had a name. I don't remember. One of them is the Eagle. Is the Ascent stage called the Eagle? I think it is. So then I guess the bottom stage has a separate name. I don't know. Leave it in the comments. You guys can fuss at me for getting my history wrong. I'm gonna go ahead and get my rendezvous, and there you saw I mentioned at the beginning of the video my fuel efficiency and my planning, or lack of planning rather. I'm doing this rendezvous with less than 100 meters per second left in this Ascent stage, which is I think is like really close. I'm really happy with how that turned out. The service module, on the other hand, probably has quite a bit of fuel left. Yeah, 1,300 meters per second. I'm transferring all the fuel from the Ascent stage just because I know I won't need it, and I guess I could have deorbited the Ascent stage and cleaned up my debris, but in reality, I believe the Ascent stage stayed in orbit of the moon, and I'm sure at some point the orbit decayed, but I don't know if they're still floating out there or not. So there you see, I'm going to go ahead and return to the KSC, and that's it for the video. Hope you guys are enjoying the series. Each video kind of stands on its own, so if you're interested in the other ones, great. If not, no big deal. Thank you all for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment. I love to respond to comments, and I hope to see you guys in another video real soon.